Or joining a new tea class will be set up. I'll make sure that you can see me well, that you can hear me well. In theory, this time I should not have battery problem with my microphone. Let me see if I can see myself, not so far. And it should be starting soon. So far I still cannot see my image. Okay, now it looks good. We are live and we can start. Yeah, okay. Hello dear tea friends from around the world. Welcome to a new tea class with me, Stéphane Erler. I'm the founder of the Tea Masters blog and also of the tea-masters.com tea boutique. Thank you very much for joining. We do a new tea class about Tie Guan Yin and roasting. This sampler I've made in my boutique under the category of sampler. It consists of 4 different samples: a light roast, medium roast, a strong roast, and a charcoal roast. And for the purpose of today's class, I've added 2 more teas, which we are going to discuss very soon. Today, I want to focus more on the aging part of roasted oolongs in general, and therefore Tie Guan Yin in particular. This sampler gives us the opportunity to see 4 different Tie Guan Yins. Actually, these are literally the same leaves, but they are processed differently, similar in oxidation, but different in roasting. Really, the only difference is the roasting, and this allows us to see that in terms of shape, these leaves are very similar, but the color is a little bit different. It goes from a bit lighter to darker, and of course it's the aromas that are very different. For this, I've put a link to each of the previous classes where I've compared the aromas of each different roast level. If you did not catch these classes before, just to remind you that it's really the roast that changes, especially the scent. However, when we look more in detail at the shape of these leaves, they are all similarly rolled. In terms of how tightly they are rolled, you will notice that these 4 different samples, which were made in the same year, I think it was 2 years ago already, they are the same. They have the same tightness, so the shape is very similar, tightly rolled, and therefore what we can learn also from this is that an old Tie Guan Yin is not necessarily a Tie Guan Yin that is very roasted, because the roasting can be changed even for young Tie Guan Yin, and that what does not change in these 4 levels of roasting is the tightness of the leaves. This is important because in the meantime I have selected another Tie Guan Yin in the flower scented category. This is a Tie Guan Yin that is osmanthus scented, and this one is interesting because it is 8 years old, and we can see that the color and the shape is quite different from the lightest roasted Tie Guan Yin in my sample. When we look at the shape, especially of the tea, it is much looser, so it starts to unfurl it's not so tightly rolled anymore. It starts to unfurl. Earlier in the day, I brewed these two. So here, this is the part that is osmanthus. This is the part that is without scenting. And actually, when I look at the leaves, they look very, very similar in terms of oxidation, even in terms of freshness. After 8 years, you don't get a lot of change in the color of the open leaves. However, in the dry leaves, we have a larger change. The difference is much more impressive in the dry leaves between a fresh one and the aged one. The aged one looks lighter in color, and also the leaves have started to unfurl. And when I look at this is a Tie Guan Yin that I bought over 10 years ago, and when I bought it, the seller told me it's over 30 years old. So this should be almost 40, 50 years old Tie Guan Yin. And when I compare this old Tie Guan Yin, which has very strong roasted aromas and smells, still, when I compare it to the charcoal roasted, what really is different is the way the leaves look. They look even more unfurled than the osmanthus Tie Guan Yin, but the color is definitely darker, quite dark. So from my experience with most rolled oolongs, the level of rolling, of unfurling is also, or is actually the main way to distinguish between aged and a young rolled oolong. So the young ones are not necessarily the ones that are the most roasted. All these 4 that you have in your sample, in your sampler, are of different roast levels, and they are all young, 2 years old only. But when they get older, no matter if they were lightly roasted like the osmanthus Tie Guan Yin, or strongly roasted like this one, 40-year-old, they will unfurl little by little, and this is where you are able to tell if a roasted oolong or if a rolled oolong is old or not. It's not by the roast, it's by the level of unfurling that you can tell this. So this is very important, especially if you are in the market for purchasing older oolongs. You have to be careful. There are lots of forgeries, especially now that with the poor craze, there is a trend for collecting older leaves, older teas. So this has also impacted the oolong world, where people have also started to pay attention to aged oolongs that improve with time. And indeed, when we compare this 8-year-old Tie Guan Yin, which is flower scented, with this lighter Tie Guan Yin, we'll see that they are quite similar in terms of the leaves, but the flavor of the tea is lighter, more mellow after 8 years. It is stronger and more powerful when it's more freshly roasted. And of course, this one even has the added osmanthus scent, which is quite nice. So I've added this tea after creating this sampler, so I really recommend that you also purchase this osmanthus scented Tie Guan Yin, so that you can see this difference in the unfurling of the leaves. The shape of the dry leaves is very significant, and you'll get to enjoy an aged roasted tea, and see how it mellows, how the roast aromas have almost disappeared, and the osmanthus smell is really very nicely done, naturally done. So it's really a very nice tea. You can then compare, especially with this one. Another thing you can do with this sampler is to continue to monitor it. If you have a larger portion, or if you have a second set, you can monitor how these 4 different levels of roast evolve over time, and you will see which is the type of roast level that brings you the most enjoyment, the one that you like most, the one that will also fade away faster. Of course, logically, the one that is lighter roasted will fade away faster, and so it's also a balance for how long you wish to keep and age your tea. If you aim for a shorter period of time, maybe a lighter roast is better, but if you aim for a longer period of time, then one of these stronger roasts would be more suitable. So there's no exact answer. It's also a question of personal preference. So this kind of sampler is very interesting because it allows you to compare the same tea, but slightly different with a different roasting level, and you'll understand that aged tea is not an over-roasted tea. And this is one of the 101 mistake that people, purchasers, do when they start to go into the market for aged oolongs. They think that over-roasted oolongs are aged oolongs, but here you can see with this sampler that you have a very strongly roasted oolong, but it is very young. And on the other hand, after 8 years, you will see that the Tie Guan Yin will start to unfurl. So this is also the same process that happens in Dongding with Dongding oolongs. It will, of course, the shape will be different for each tea. So the dry shape of Tie Guan Yin will be different from Dongding oolong based on Qingxing oolong, or will be different than a roasted Sejichun or Jinxuan, because the underlying leaf is different. Its shape or its size is different. So you cannot. If you're really expert, from looking at the dry shape, you can already say what type of cultivar it is. This is really a very high level of experience, but you have to. You cannot say, oh, this kind of unfurling is exactly how many years. This will depend on too many factors, how humid it is, what type of cultivar you have. Some cultivars, like Dongding, the rolling and the tightening of the Dongding leaf is made more strongly than with Tie Guan Yin, or maybe than with other cultivars. So it will, so therefore they will also unfurl more slowly than more lightly rolled oolongs. So unfurling is the sign that of an aged tea, but how fast a tea will unfurl will depend on many factors, so like humidity and the cultivar. So best is to learn for different teas how it goes. With this sampler you have, and if you add the osmanthus scented Tie Guan Yin, then you will have a very good tool to evaluate how quickly how quickly they unfold in Taiwan, especially. Okay. Hello, Elizabeth. Thank you for joining. I hope that this presentation will be interesting for you. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And I hope that you are enjoying your springtime. The new harvest should be coming soon. I called a farmer in Alishan, told me that his tea in Jiangsu will be picked between May 5th and May 10th. Another one has already finished his harvest because he's a bit he's located a bit lower than Jiangsu. So we are now a bit in this exciting time of the year where a lot of new teas are going to start to arrive. I hope that there will be nice discoveries, and I will report them to you as soon as I get my hands on them. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next week for a new tea class, this time about I Ching teapots. And as I said, I've put links to my previous classes on Tie Guan Yin below in the links, so that in the description of this video, so that you can catch with them if you purchased this sampler just recently. I know many people did. Thank you. Let me see if there are any questions. Hello, Elizabeth. Very interesting. I'm going to take out my charcoal roasted Tie Guan Yin this morning and make a brew. That's a very good idea. And I will also make a little brew. Here I will continue a brew I started this afternoon of my Osmanthus Tie Guan Yin. Oh, let me also take my cups. Preheat the cups, but I don't preheat the guy one. It's open. Okay. I find Tie Guan Yin at its best with more leaves. But do you think it would be still interesting with fewer leaves and a light brew? That's a good question. Indeed, with more leaves, you get more this powerful aftertaste that is very typical of Tie Guan Yin, and which is a reason why it's so popular, especially here in Taiwan. But I find that in the evenings, actually, a lighter brew is just fine also. And with fewer leaves, you can also brew a bit longer. This actually also helps to make a stronger aftertaste and a nice long aftertaste. And with Osmanthus scented here, since it's an older, an aged Tie Guan Yin, you are also able to brew it a bit longer. But when it's light, it also has nice light flavors of Osmanthus, so it's quite enjoyable also. And surprisingly sweet at the same time, thanks to this nice aging. So thank you very much for your question. Enjoy your roasted Tie Guan Yin. I'd like to try the Osman to Tie Guan Yin. Okay, I hope you'll get the opportunity next time. It does have a nice gold, light gold color, and very good transparency. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Elizabeth. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I'll see you next week for another class. Bye bye.